Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Well, as Boris Johnson wishes to be the mother of us all, as he's decided to ease lockdown, he's saying, well, you should behave responsibly. It's like, okay, cool. Yep, so the curfew is over. You're not grounded anymore. You can go out, but of course, as your mother here, if you do disobey the rules of the house or you do anything foolish, then I will not hesitate to get you back inside, and you will not be allowed out again for a few more weeks. Funnily enough, actually, if an individual parent were to treat their children the same way that Boris Johnson has been treated his voters, then they'd probably quite rightly be viewed as abusive or negligent at the very least. But with that similarity out of the way, let's get into what exactly is happening. So they do have a list of rule changes here to say that all shops can reopen, hairdressers, beauty salons and other close contact services can open, and I'll be interested to see just how many people decide to get their hair cut from tomorrow and the rest of the week who have been actually waiting until now, compared to people who have had a friend who is a hairdresser or would like to be do their hair for them, or they decide to just cut their own hair, especially if they're a guy, buzz cut, skinhead, something like that. Very easy, straightforward. And so, I'll be intrigued to see how many people have actually been following it in terms of that now think that they do need a haircut and haven't already found another way around it. And with that kind of thing in mind as well, it does show with an ever-changing, not quite society or culture, but just kind of landscape, I suppose, that people always find another way around it. If obstacles are put in their way, which obviously it was for people who wanted a professional haircut, then they will find another way around it. So let's see how many people decided to not wait over a year. Restaurants and pubs are allowed to serve food and alcohol to customers sitting outdoors, and thankfully, similarly to that, there have been changes around city centres and town centres in order to expand the outdoor seating for members of these hospitality sectors, so that some have gone as far as to close roads, and you've almost got the kind of street party feel, and all you need now is bunting, really. But it's that kind of thing in order to try and help facilitate that. Obviously, it's still going to be a bit cold, seeing as we've just had snow today, but other than that, al fresco dining. That's supposed to be a fancy thing. Next, gyms, spas, zoos, theme parks, libraries and community centres can all open. That is quite the eclectic mix, but jolly good. You can work on your body and your mind, if the internet didn't do it well enough. But good. It's about time for all supposed to be, all going for health and make sure you don't have any underlying health conditions, and the reason for all this lockdown is to ensure that people are healthier, or at least not as sick, in which case, yes, gyms are vitally important, as is the access to information. But here's a fun one. What is the most common underlying health condition? As in, which one has probably caused us the most problem in creating this such a easily usable pandemic? Obesity. Without a doubt. People eating themselves into an early grave. People being overweight and therefore at more risk because their bodies aren't functioning properly. And so, by all means, you've got the individual argument to say, I can eat what I want and you can't stop me from getting fat. No, of course not. But of course, if that then results in such an issue, especially on a global scale, or at the very least a national level, and now it affects me, either because of the NHS, which in itself should go, but then having to pay for the problems that they incur in their own lives. But also then, when it comes down to, now you're being used by government in order to stop me from having my own freedoms, that there's going to be a little bit of annoyance when it could be prevented through just self-control. So, at risk of fat shaming and saying go after the fatties, it's definitely pertinent to remember that one of the biggest motivating factors which made this as bad as it was, if you kind of discount government being government, because you can expect them to do government things, then it is definitely people being overweight. So yeah, gyms, good stuff. Members of the same household can take a holiday in England in self-contained accommodation. You might as well just go for a road trip, stay in your car. But yes, if the weather in one part of the country is better than another part, then jolly good. Off you plop. Maybe you need a change of scenery, but it is most likely you'd be able to get out to a green area or a seaside within a day. Might be able to make it back same day as well, otherwise you've got a tent. Go ahead. If you're on more of a nature escape. Up to 15 people can attend weddings and 30 can attend funerals. Convenient timing. Children can attend any indoor children's activity. Good. The socialization is definitely appreciated, especially when it comes to the under 4-year-olds. You know, if they're not socialized by then there's no chance for them in their entire life. Care home visitors will increase to 2 per resident, which is nice, but also we're thinking, well, how many of the older people have already been taken up by this? Then driving lessons can resume, with tests restarting on 22nd of April. Yay! Just when people are getting back to work, and of course the roads are going to fill up. Now I'll have a load of learners out there as well, because that's not going to hold you up in your commute. Oh dear. But that's good. It's always good to develop the skills, no doubt. And of course, learning how to drive a manual, or as the Americans would say, a stick, is not only a dying art because people are getting lazy, but with electric cars coming out as well, then you won't even be allowed to learn a manual. And it will be one of those lovely antiques, just to get us ready for the inevitable Mad Max scenario. So, then they also mention about schools reopening for students, as well as any children can, of course, interact with any other children in indoor activities. But then you got from the Prime Minister, our mother. So the rule relaxations are a major step forward in our roadmap to freedom. Not quite slipping of the mask, but it is worth addressing as well that it is a concession to say, yeah, your freedoms have been taken, and it is because of our lockdown that has done it. So at least he is finally at the point ready to admit that the reason we are suffering is because of him. So at least he's taking personal responsibility there, and also doing the right thing in saying, oh shit, yeah, kind of ruined your life a bit there. Let's try and get you back to it. And the nice thing, at least in this, is with the freedom, is, as I said before, government intervention is almost always worse than no government intervention. So if he does, in whatever part, wish to admit he's made a horrendous mistake in his dealing with all this, then instead of trying to say, cool, we're going to make it up to you by doing all these other things, it's like, no, government's always going to be worse, so just cut your losses, leave us alone, and we will pick up the pieces and deal with it ourselves. And hopefully he will actually go, yeah, that's fine, less for him to do. Yeah, there is. So off you fuck. If you want to be behind a great economic miracle and all that, just leave us alone, and by all means take credit, as long as you acknowledge that it's because you didn't do anything, and that is, quite frankly, what is the best thing to do. So he's saying, I'm sure it'll be a huge relief for those business owners who have been closed for so long, and for everyone else, it's a chance to get back to doing some of the things we love and have missed. I urge everyone to continue to behave responsibly, and remember hands, face, space, and fresh air to suppress COVID as we push on with our vaccination program. Which, to be honest, is quite nice advice anyway. Especially the space and fresh air. That's always good, and do get out and about, enjoy the sunshine. Bear in mind that vitamin D deficiencies is what's been a big problem as well, which is quite easily avoidable. You can get it from diet, but just be outside more. It can be difficult with office jobs and British weather, I know, but you don't need as much as you think you do. And also bear in mind that if you have a paler skin complexion, you're going to be absorbing more of the vitamin D. Why do you think we've seen so many darker skinned ethnic minorities, as they say, suffer from COVID? Well, okay, sure, it could be different practices and hygiene from different cultures, definitely plays a part, but also that they're not going to be absorbing as much vitamin D given the same amount of sunlight as the rest of us, because of course that isn't what, this is not the climate that evolution has prepared them for, so they're going to be needing more sunlight than paler people. With that in mind, get some more sunshine. Also good for your mood. It does a lot. Vitamin D. Fantastic. Greatly overlooked. And just to wrap up, there are 4 conditions for lockdown easing, so as in the tyrannical government to decide to not be so tyrannical. What a miracle. Number 1 is the vaccine program continues to go to plan. Do they have a plan? Evidence shows vaccines are reducing deaths and numbers requiring hospital treatment. Yep, so it can't just be that they're decreasing. It has to show that it's vaccines that are responsible for this. Again, government has to take credit. Number 3, infection rates do not risk surge in hospital admissions. They can play about with that as much as they want. We've all seen that over the past over a year. I think the use of the USS Comfort in America off the coast in New York was a great example of that, with Cuomo saying, yeah, we definitely need more space and we're not getting it from the president. And then they were like, oh, okay, well, yeah, he might send the ship, it'll be there in a week at soonest. And then it was there the next day. They're like, oh, cool. Yeah, we don't actually need that. And then it left after a few days because it wasn't bloody used. And what about the Nightingale wing in London? Yeah, so is there really a risk of a surge in hospital admissions? No, unless you want there to be, in which case, sure. And finally, new variants do not change the risk of lifting restrictions. Well, that can be played about as much as they wish, because of course they're going to say that the vaccines aren't going to cover it, in which case you're going to need an annual vaccination. It's very convenient. I mean, bloody hell, I know Bitcoin was a good investment, but surely, vaccine development is similarly fruitful. So of course they're going to be saying, yeah, you need it every year, because then their business plan of a subscription model is set in stone. Brilliant. But that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down below in terms of lockdown restrictions easing. There you go. Yeah, it's about bloody time. And hey, there are actually some good things. Let us be grateful for what we've got. Or if you say, no, not satisfied until government just leaves us the fuck alone. So no, I'm not going to be grateful for this small victory, because we should have had it a long time ago and should never have lost it. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward. Either way, let me know. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, as always, until next time, have a good one.